the final step isn't about forgetting. It's about integrating the lesson so completely that the event no longer has emotional sting, only wisdom. The Stoics saw every pain as material for building virtue. Callard would say that this pain becomes part of your aspirational journey, reshaping you into someone wiser and stronger than before. This is where you turn the wound into a weapon, not for revenge, but for self. Every future decision, every relationship, every boundary you set is now reinforced by the insight you gained from surviving this. Here's the key mindset shift. You didn't lose to her, you graduated from her. Her action wasn't your downfall, it was your pivot point. The story isn't about her cruelty, it's about your evolution. When you reach this point, the memory stops being a trigger and becomes a teacher. And that is the ultimate win, because a woman can take your time, your trust, even your love, but she can never take away the man you became in the process. Ending. So, how do you handle a woman who hurts you? You don't fight for her attention. You don't beg for her understanding. You don't let her control the story. You take the pain, you strip it of its power, and you use it to fuel the version of yourself that no one, not her, not anyone, can shake. Agnes Callard reminds us that aspiration means becoming the person your future self will thank you for being. The man who reacts out of impulse lives in regret. The man who responds with patience, clarity, and purpose lives in freedom. You are not defined by who hurt you. You are defined by how you rise after it. And when she finally realizes she can't reach you anymore, that's when you've already won. Intro: when someone hurts you, especially someone you once trusted, your mind races through a storm of emotions. Anger, confusion, the desperate need for answers. And if it's a woman you deeply cared for, the pain feels personal, sharp, and almost impossible to ignore. In those moments your instinct is to fight back, explain yourself, or demand justice. But here's the truth. Reacting without reflection traps you exactly where she wants you, in her emotional arena. Philosopher Agnes Callard reminds us that real growth often begins not with retaliation, but with introspection. Callard speaks of the aspirational self, the part of you that's becoming someone greater, someone who can rise above immediate impulses. That version of you doesn't live to win arguments or prove a point. He lives to master himself. And this is where Stoic principles come into play. Stoicism teaches that you can't control her words, her actions, or her betrayals, but you can control your perception and your response. The way you handle pain can either make you small or elevate you into someone unshakable. So in today's breakdown, we'll go through 7 deliberate steps to handle a woman who hurts you. These aren't petty revenge tactics or shallow mind games. They're psychological, philosophical, and deeply effective. By the end, you'll not only know how to face her, you'll know how to rebuild yourself stronger than before. Let's start with the first 2 steps, the foundation of taking your power back. The moment she hurts you, it's like a cut, and your emotions are the blood. If you don't stop the bleeding, you'll lose clarity and strength. The natural impulse is to react immediately, send a message, make a call, post something, or confront her. But every impulsive move hands her more control over your narrative. Agnes Callard's perspective on aspiration is powerful here. She says, we must sometimes act as if we are already the person we're trying to become. That means, before you say a single word to her, you step into the role of your higher self, the calm, strategic, future version of you who doesn't get dragged into emotional mud fights. Practically, this means, don't respond instantly. Let time pass. The silence itself becomes a form of power. Observe your emotions. Notice your anger, betrayal, or sadness, but don't let them dictate your next move. Ask yourself, if I were unshakable, what would I do right now? This isn't weakness, it's control. The woman who hurt you may expect an outburst, a chase, or an emotional meltdown. But by pausing, you break the script she's written for you. You force her into uncertainty, and uncertainty is the seed of doubt in her mind. A man who doesn't immediately react communicates one thing loud and clear: I am not desperate for your validation. That's the first psychological shift you need. When someone wrongs you, they'll often try to control the narrative, painting themselves as the victim, you as the problem, or the situation as something you caused. If you stay passive for too long without internal clarity, you risk allowing her version of events to become the truth in other people's minds, and even in your own. Here's where Stoicism and Callard's aspirational framework merge perfectly. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. Callard would add, choose to become someone better as a result. The point isn't to deny the reality of what happened. It's to consciously define what it means for you. Instead of telling yourself, she betrayed me, so I'm broken, you reframe it to, she betrayed me, so I've been shown who she truly is, and now I'm free to grow without her influence. Practically, this means, journal your truth privately. Write down exactly what happened from your perspective, not for her, not for anyone else, but for you. Extract the lesson. Ask, what weaknesses in me allowed this to happen, and how will I strengthen it? Set your next chapter. Decide how you will be remembered in this story as the man who collapsed, or the man who walked away with dignity. By doing this early, you take authorship over your own life script. You stop being just a character in her drama and become the narrator of your own. And here's the secret. When a woman realizes she no longer has the power to define you, she also loses the power to control you. That's when she starts to question whether hurting you was ever worth it, and that's when you've already won the deeper game. If you want, I can now continue with parts 3 to 7 plus the ending in the same tone so the full video is cohesive. That way, we'll keep building psychological tension while embedding Stoic and Agnes Callard insights. Do you want me to move on with the rest now? The character count without spaces will again be above your target range for these 3 parts, combined, so the pacing matches your YouTube voiceover length and keeps your audience hooked. Part 3, Step 3. Withdraw your energy without announcement. Most men make the mistake of announcing their withdrawal. They'll say, "Fine, I'm done with you," thinking it shows strength. But true power doesn't broadcast, it simply shifts. If she's hurt you, she has already taken enough of your emotional energy. Why give her the satisfaction of knowing she still gets a performance out of you? Agnes Callard talks about aspirational distance, the space between who you are now and who you aim to be. That distance isn't meant to be filled with noisy explanations or social media jabs. It's meant to be filled with quiet action. You don't storm out. You fade out. You don't slam the door. You let it close behind you while you're already on the next path. Here's how you apply this. Stop feeding her attention loops. Don't reply to her bait messages. Don't check her online activity. Pull your presence from her spaces. If she expects to see you where you used to be, let that absence speak louder than any speech. Redirect energy into projects that matter. The gym, your work, your self-education, not her drama. The silence here isn't about ignoring her to get a reaction. It's about liberating your mind from her orbit. And paradoxically, that's when she often starts to notice, because the energy she once relied on is no longer hers to consume. This step is subtle, but devastatingly effective. The woman who hurt you may expect to see you bitter, sarcastic, or visibly changed in a negative way. That's what confirms to her that she had power over you. But when she sees you calmer, sharper, and even more grounded than before, it rewrites the script in her mind. Callard emphasizes that growth isn't about faking a better self for others, it's about actually becoming it. The transformation must be real, or else your composure will crack under the smallest provocation. So, don't aim to show her you're unbothered. Actually be unbothered. Upgrade your physical presence, not for revenge, but because health, discipline, and confidence make betrayal irrelevant. Maintain social grace. If you do cross paths, keep it polite, short, and neutral, the kind of demeanor that says, "I have peace, you can't disturb." Stay visible in your own pursuits. Let your life demonstrate that she was a chapter, not the story. Here's the psychological twist. People often expect those they hurt to carry visible scars. When you don't, it forces them to confront the idea that maybe they never had the power they thought they did. Even when you think you've moved on, there can still be invisible ties. Those late-night thoughts, the urge to check her, social media, the imaginary conversations in your head where you finally say what needs to be said. These are what I call hidden hooks. Stoic philosophy says that suffering doesn't come from events themselves, but from our judgments about them. Callard would add that these hooks keep you tied to a past version of yourself, the one who still needs her approval or closure. And as long as those hooks remain, she still has a quiet hold on you. Here's how to remove them. Eliminate passive connections. If you're still following her online, unfollow. If mutual friends keep relaying updates, ask them to stop. Cut the mental loops. When you catch yourself replaying the pain, deliberately shift your attention to something constructive. Replace her influence with aspirational input. Read, listen, and engage with ideas that build your higher self, not voices that drag you back. This is where the deeper freedom lies. When the hooks are gone, you're not just pretending you've moved on, you have actually moved on. And in that moment, the woman who hurt you becomes irrelevant to your emotional state. If you want, I can now finish part 6, part 7, and the ending, where the psychological climax happens, the final shift, where you go from the man she hurt to the man she can't reach anymore. Do you want me to finish the last part now so the whole script is ready for your YouTube video? Alright, here's part 6, part 7, and the ending for your How to Handle a Woman Who Hurts You Agnes Callard Stoicism video script, matching the same intense and philosophical tone. One of the deepest mistakes men make after being hurt is continuing to orbit their lives around the memory of that woman, even if it's in anger, thinking about her daily, structuring your moves so she sees them, or secretly hoping she notices your success still keeps her as the reference point. Agnes Callard's PH? The final step isn't about forgetting. It's about integrating the lesson so completely that the event no longer has emotional sting, only wisdom. The Stoics saw every pain as material for building virtue. Callard would say that this pain becomes part of your aspirational journey, reshaping you into someone wiser and stronger than before. This is where you turn the wound into a weapon, not for revenge, but for self. Every future decision, every relationship, every boundary you set is now reinforced by the insight you gained from surviving this. Here's the key mindset shift. You didn't lose to her, you graduated from her. Her action wasn't your downfall, it was your pivot point. The story isn't about her cruelty, it's about your evolution. When you reach this point, the memory stops being a trigger and becomes a teacher. And that is the ultimate win, because a woman can take your time, your trust, even your love, but she can never take away the man you became in the process. Ending. So, how do you handle a woman who hurts you? You don't fight for her attention. You don't beg for her understanding. You don't let her control the story. You take the pain, you strip it of its power, and you use it to fuel the version of yourself that no one, not her, not anyone, can shake. Agnes Callard reminds us that aspiration means becoming the person your future self will thank you for being. The man who reacts out of impulse lives in regret. The man who responds with patience, clarity, and purpose lives in freedom. You are not defined by who hurt you. You are defined by how you rise after it. And when she finally realizes she can't reach you anymore, that's when you've already won.